here's the thing about shunning. You know what it says about you? If you're shunning a family member or something, and the reason that you're shunning them is because they don't believe in the same things that you believe in, it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that are they kind, loving people or anything. That aside, just because they don't believe the same religious faith or political faith that you have, you shun them. What that says is you never cared about them in the first place. That's what it says to them. Now that might not be true, but that's what it feels to the people that you do that to. And you have to remember that everybody that you look at that you've ever seen is all part of the human family. One family, the human family. And if you treat somebody that way, that's how you're treating your family. I don't have to say to somebody, is that how you would treat your family? That's how you're treating your family. And so it says to you that you don't care, and you don't even care enough to say, what is it that you don't like, or Mormons are real big, what offended you? And they're always sure that it was someone in the church that offended them. Sometimes it is. But what if it's just the church itself? What if it's the doctrines? What if it's the history? What if it's those things that offended them? You know? And so, but you don't care. You don't care about that. You don't care about them because you don't care to know what it is that's bothering them so much. And you don't even care enough to talk to them like a friend, because that's what friends do, right? When a friend has something going on in a faith, what they call a faith crisis, or faith transition, or what transition maybe not, we would say that, but a faith crisis or something. If you're just starting to look at the world and actually developing your own sense of morality, and it's important because when people are developing their own sense of morality, they're saying, I say this is right or wrong, no matter what anybody else says. I say if it's right or wrong because it affects my heart, the way I choose to either act on what I feel or not, right? And so, people will always say, well, they can leave the church, but they can't leave it alone. Well, that's because you left them alone, right? They're not leaving you alone. It's because they love you, right? They're not talking about the church because they hate you and they don't want nothing to do with you. They're saying it out of love. Now, they might be upset about the things, but they're saying it to you because they love you, right? But you don't care. You just don't want to hear it. You don't want to listen. You don't want to have any compassion or empathy or understanding. You just want them to listen and obey. And that's just what you're saying to them when you say that is, I want you to be a slave and have no thoughts of your own. And the Mormon church will teach that someday that they're all going to be gods and goddesses. But they're not allowed to have their own sense of morality or think about things and have their own opinion or thoughts about something. Right? If you're going to someday be a god, then you should be learning how to think, what's the best word for it? Maybe not independent. You should be able to have your own thoughts, right? Because if you don't have your own thoughts, then you can't be a god. You're just an automaton of some other thing, person, religion, organization, right? Organized religion. So, and while you're sitting there condemning people, condemnation, I think, we're using righteous judgment. Righteous judgment is not about condemnation. Righteous judgment is using good judgment, someone's upset. Would it be good for me to shun them, or would it be good for me to be their friend and listen and see what it is that bothers them? One of them is condemnation, and one of them is grace. So what are you offering your family? and why you sit there and say family is so important. And I know I did hear something that made me think a little bit about that. Somebody says if someone leaves the Mormon Church or the Jehovah's Witnesses or Scientology, the people that are in those religions feel like that person has made a choice to not be part of them. No, that's not true though. They've made a choice to not be part of that dogma or the religion or the doctrine or whatever. They've made a choice not to be part of that. It has nothing to do with you. All right. I went to church with my folks a couple times while I lived with them several, I don't know, 5-6 years ago for like 2 years or something. But I went to church with them not because I thought it was true or anything like that. I just went for them, right? Because I love them. But they don't care. They don't care. They don't care about that. A lot of folks in these religions, they just don't care about that. They don't care if you love them after you leave their religions, because they have made the religion themselves. They've taken the corporate name onto themselves. They see things through corporate eyes, and corporatology is based on death. That's why it's in all capital letters, capital punishment. But so the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or the Jehovah's Witness, Kingdom Hall, all those, Scientology, all the names are all in capital letters. But Mormons will say how big they are on family and love, while in the practice of that religion, that's not true. Their most sacred work is work for the dead. Instead of work for the living, it's work for the dead. But that's, I even can kind of, I can appreciate what they're trying to, well, let me not say that. They feel like they're being loving, but they're spending their time on the dead rather than the living. And Christ said, let the dead bury the dead, all right? Once somebody is gone, they're not gone forever. They're getting ready to come back, right? Because everybody's trying to figure out, oh, I realize now we weren't supposed to be making each other pay for the gift of living. We're supposed to actually, I don't know, be a family. But so in weddings, two things about the temple that are really disturbing. Weddings. Anyone under 12 can't go to that. What kind of heaven, idea of heaven is it where you think that children shouldn't be at weddings because they're not old enough and haven't been indoctrinated enough or whatever? It's a wedding. I talked to a girl, a missionary of a Mormon church. She goes, oh, it was a wonderful experience. I says, it can't be that good of an experience. If you're not allowing kids to be there and family to be there, she would say, yeah, I couldn't be at my sister's wedding, but I was so happy for her. I'm sure you are happy. Everybody's happy for when somebody's getting married. But you weren't able to actually be there. That's crazy. That's not a church about family. It's a church about making as many new tithe payers, because that's how the corporate church sees you, as tithe payer, just like the government sees you as taxpayers. So, and then the other thing is, after they do their temple endowments, they go into the celestial room, which is supposed to be a representation of heaven, celestial existence. Heaven is supposed to be a representation of heaven. No kids, no laughing, no sitting around playing games, no none of that. They've made heaven this sterile, putrid, lifeless environment. It's just, I don't, it's not, and that's another thing. um, for folks of you members of the Mormon Church, um, you you say that someday you'll be God, and that's a good kind of desire, I guess, because I would hope at least that you think in order to be a God, you would have to be like the best at loving people and being compassionate and empathetic and kind and sort of that. But those aren't traits that you give Heavenly Father, because I guess you think the Heavenly Father. So what kind of God do you want to be? Do you want people on your earth or planet to walk around with their arms folded in reverence of you? Do you want people to get on their knees and pray to you, or would you want to actually, live on the same planet with your family, and instead of being thought of as, I want you to think about me as in reverence and solemnness and bow your head and all these kind of things, wouldn't you want your family to think about you as like the fun grandpa or the fun dad? You've got this crazy idea that I don't know what kind of God do you think you're going to be? You want people to have to pay to be able to experience heaven with you? They got to, in order to be able to go to the temple, they have to pay you a certain amount of money. What kind of God was because the God I think that most Mormons want to be is not the kind of God that they preach or talk about. None of it fits together, So it just seems that you want. Maybe that's what you want for yourself. Maybe that's what it. Maybe I don't know Mormons as much as I thought. Maybe what you want is you want people to bow in respect of you and to get on their knees when they ask you for something. And maybe you want them to spend time doing work for the dead while their families are the living ones at home. And maybe you don't want children at weddings. I don't know. I mean, but I feel like having known and loving as many people in the church as I do, I feel like that's not the kind of God that that you want, that you would want to be someday. I said missionary. I talked to a girl that was a missionary. That word, though, is not the best word. It's actually two words. It's two words when there's two of them. And why do they always want two missionaries? That's so they can keep each other in line, right? Because you can talk to an individual Mormon, and you can actually have, rational is not the right word. That's rationing your thoughts. That's not. A loving and intellectually truthful. I don't even like the word conversation, and I don't like the word talk. The reason I don't like the word conversation is it starts with con. Although if you say with, because con can also mean with, instead of just a deception, but with love. So that, I guess that's okay. And talking is a neuro-linguistic program. That's two words, talking, right? So if you say, I'm talking, you're saying, hey, shush your mouth. I'm the one who's king here. I'm much bigger than you. You should look up to me and I'll look down upon you. all those things, like, and people saying, you know, oh well, he got shorted, or it's that phrase, you were shorted, sounds like you're being somebody gypped you, or you're being you know, and so that makes a subconscious thing in people's minds where they give more credence to people that are taller. A higher authority, right? People always looking up. That's not cool. That's not equality, and equality is love. And if you're not having a loving quality, a love quality, right? See, you can put those two words together, and you have love, and then you have equality, right? So if you don't have a love quality, that's not cool. That's the wrong idea, and that's the wrong way to think about things. But you don't know what you're doing it because it's a neuro-linguistic program. It's a subconscious thing. That's why they build tall buildings and tall steeples and tall temples and all that kind of stuff, because they want you always looking up, because that is physiology. And physiology, like if you sit all, like this, right, you'll start feeling more depressed because your physiology will have an effect on. So anyways, so that's how physiology works. Not fizz like in fizz in a soda, but see, this is another thing about language. We've got to really fix it. So missionaries is two words, and you'll see two of them because it's an integral part of the magic spell that is mission. The word missionaries. They always go in twos. Well, Aries, mission Aries. Aries was a god of war, which is interesting because the congregation in the Mormon Church is called wards, ward people, ward members. They've been ward because the god of Aries is a god of war and death and destruction. And so, and Mormons will, but many Christian religions sing that song, Christian soldiers, on ward, Christian soldiers. And if you look at, and Aries is a ram or a goat. And so if you look at a Baphomet is a ram or a goat, because the word missionaries only works if it's two or more. So, but and then the guy missionaries are called elders, and that's also a neuro-linguistic program because they know everybody in their mind has heard the phrase "respect your elders." So if you have a couple of young guys that are yet wet behind the ears, let me not say that. If you have a couple of young guys that are just, not too far out of high school and really, haven't learned that much yet, and they're talking to you, you have a subconscious thing in your back of your head saying, respect your elders. Now, not everybody is that susceptible to neuro-linguistic programming, but there's always a little at play there. And so, and when there's missionaries, if one person is gonna meet with the missionaries, then you'll have two missionaries. But if there's two people, the two missionaries will go get a third person so that they can outnumber you. And if there's gonna be three of you, they'll bring a fourth one. And that's because if you a higher number of people makes it uneven, right? And so you say, Um, this is the higher power, the higher authority. It's all stuff that works in people's brains against them. But anyways, but these religious leaders and government leaders and stuff, they've been learning all this information for thousands of years, and they just pass it along to each other as they go, saying, "Look, this is how you do it, and this is what happens. This is how the psyche of the human experience works, and this is how you can get them to do certain things." And have them think it's their own idea and stuff like that. So they've been doing all this kind of things for a long time. So they know how the human brain works. But also, when you have a greater number of people there, there's this thought of authority, and all these religions, like Mormonism and Jehovah's Witnesses and Scientology. Are structured on authority. They're structured on that pyramid system. Today we also call it patriarchy, but authority is the power of the false god or the fake god, a Greek god, Thor. This is why you have the House of Representatives, THOR, and so you have authority. And the first two letters in authority are AU and then Thor. So you have golden and then God. AU, the periodic table, the letters for gold are AU. So authority is the golden God, or it says golden idol. Like the Bible, that's the golden bull. Like they were worshiping with Moses. And Moses, by the way, is a wolf in sheep's clothing. And you can learn about that in my other videos. Well, heck, why not just say it now? The law of Moses. It was first introduced as 2 stone tablets, the shape of tombstones. Those that shun me, they love death. So they love laws and ordinances. It was first introduced to them in the form of 2 stone tablets shape of tombstones. One each for Adam and Eve. But that's because Adam and Eve got sick. Adam and Eve ill. Eve ill, eating from the tree of death. The tree of 3 branches. Whenever you talk the tree of death, it always talks about branches, like the 3 branches of government: legislative, judicial, and executive. The 3 members of the first presidency. And then of course there's other branches. The ward branches of government are the military. That's eating from the wrong tree. The military. So they've been eating from the wrong tree, because that's not the tree of life. That's the tree of death, and destruction and abominations. And whenever you hear authority, you're always going to hear about money. In some way or another, money is going to ultimately end up being involved, or maybe someday they'll call money something different, but right now they're calling it money because it's a hint. You spell money backwards and you'll look at the word venom. So that's because eating from the tree of death, you're going to end up with a little venom, and that'll make you sick. So sick, in fact, that you'll eat from a tree with 3 branches and create Adam's nation, a damned nation, evil. So mammon, the very, very, very ultra rich blessings of mammon. So that's kind of self-explanatory, isn't it? So if you think about a god of war, you think about fire and destruction and stuff like that. Well, that's what all those altars are. Uh, those are sacrificial altars to a volcano god. They're just little replica altars for this version of God that they have made in their own mind. That's a volcano god of animal and human sacrifices. So they build these little replica altars that are like little volcanoes, and they throw their sacrifice in, or in that case, they throw their sacrifice on it. And so they say, that's a thing that God is okay with, and then after that it was human sacrifice, and now they talk about sacrifice of going to church, or sacrifice of, attending to your church work, or stuff like that. But it's always a sacrifice of you or someone, and sacrifice is what an evil God requires. A loving God, well, I've been sacrificing a lot for you, so sacrificing myself, my time, my energy. Maybe that's not the best way to say it, but anyways, the idea is that sacrifice is an evil requirement, because a loving God doesn't want you to suffer, or for you to think life is a test, because the experience of living is a gift. That's why you live in the present moment. And these words aren't there by accident. It's just, you live in the present. You can't live in the past. It doesn't exist. You can't live in the future. You can only ever live in the present. So you should make living a gift to each other, because you can only live it in the present. But if you're constantly thinking about death in the past or death in the future, then you're not living in the present. And so that's why I, said, they should change the spelling of the word Relief Society to Relief Society. That way it would be about a tree of the living instead of the tree of the dead, which is, the genealogy work. And the word log is right in the middle of genealogy, a dead tree. So, so what else? Patriarch, there's another evil spell. Patriarch and Patreon and Patriot. Patreon. Okay, we'll do Patreon. Who was on the tree? Patreon. The serpent was on the tree. So if you're paying the tree, whoever's on the tree, that's Patreon. Patriot. Somebody might ask you, are you a patriot? In other words, they're saying, most of the time without knowing it, that's just because of lack of a discernment, like missionaries or LDS, which are the letters for Lucifer, devil, and serpent. That if there was discernment there, true discernment, then somebody would have come up with something a little better. Anyways, and learn the importance of the word "of" there's two of the words "of" in the name of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They're saying it's the Church of Jesus Christ, so it's the church that belongs to Jesus Christ. And then the second "of" is saying it's the Jesus Christ that belongs to the Latter-day Saints. It's saying ownership. We own Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ owns the church. So that makes us the rulers of Jesus Christ in the church. Anyways, patriot. Are you a patriot? Are you a patriot? Are you someone who ought to pay the tree? And if you say yes, then, well, there you go. That's a damnation led into the darkness of night. The United States, or the United Arab Emirates, or the United Kingdom. So you have Judaism with the United States. You have Islam with the United Arab Emirates, and you have Christianity, which gained its hugeness, I guess, in the United Kingdom. So there's 6 stars on the Star of David. There's 6 tenets of Islam. There's, and so what is all that? It's 666. Anyways, and that's why those are all the flags of those countries. The first letter of flag is F, so that's the 6th letter, and so you got 666. And you got 6 points of the star and all that kind of stuff too. But anyways, bishop. Buy, shop. Buy is 2, so that's to shop. So that would make sense. Let's go shopping. The famous phrase spoke at a $1 billion mall that they say wasn't paid for from the tithes of the church, but the tithes of the church went into the investment fund to create the extra money. So, prophets, seers, and revelators. So we say prophets, money prophets. The prophet spelled or Prophets. That PH in the middle there, that's a false F sound. So you could say falsify, like they falsified the documents. Now I don't care about that too much because I don't think anybody owes anything to the government. But they talk about being honest in all their dealings. I don't think you should have governments. Of course, people haven't listened to that idea. They didn't listen to that idea in the Garden of Eden. They didn't listen to it when Samuel told the people, God said, don't choose kings and governments over you. And people did that anyways. And he told them exactly what would happen, and everything that is exactly what the government does. But anyway, so prophets, seers, CR prophets, and then revelators. Now, my mom told me a story once about the Salt Lake Temple and how elevators, shafts were left in there long before elevators were even invented. And that was proof of that design was, the design of the Salt Lake Temple was a revelation from God. First of all, elevators were invented in like 300 BC. They first used with ropes wrapped around big, round drum-shaped things. But they were used for a long, long time. 2,000 years before that Salt Lake Temple was built. So elevators have been around for a long time. Wouldn't take much to say, hey, as we get better and better making these elevators, eventually one day we'll be able to put them in here. They used to call an elevator, very first thing, they weren't called elevators always. One of the first things they were called was ascending rooms. Listen to that, ascending rooms, right? Ascended to heaven, right? You did ascend to heaven. And that's making people pay for the gift of living. That's ascended to heaven. Making people think that they should be looking to the Father instead of who is the Savior, the Son. It'd be great if my son would save me, but I'm talking about the world. The hint for the world was the word Savior. People stood alongside of the road and they did nothing. As the story goes, people stood alongside of the road and watched Jesus carry a cross. And I can explain all this to you because there's a lot of stuff y'all have just but the hint was in the word Savior. You were supposed to save your Savior, but nobody did. You can watch people get they'll beat people up, and people stand there do nothing about it while they're viciously violent and terrible to people, and force other people, and they'll beat the heaven out of anybody that doesn't obey them, because for whatever reason they've decided that equality is not important to them. The idea of the human family is as far from their brain as they can possibly push it, and so they cover their hearts with this badge. Well, the first three letters of badge are bad, and the second two letters or last two letters are G. Gee, that's bad, They cover their heart, and so they've hardened their heart, right, with that metal badge. That's not cool, but that's what laws and ordinances does. That's, the law of Moses was first introduced as 2 stone tablets. Now, if you have a heart of stone that way, that's not very good. That's lovers of the law and ordinances and stuff like that. A wolf in sheep's clothing, Moses was. And now today, all that shunning and stuff done by those religions, that's because the people in those religions are stiff-necked. And I might be talking about you right now. But I'm not talking against you. I'm talking against some of the things that people have made part of their thought process at the expense of living the gift of the human family. So, that one-eyed god of mammon will get people to do all kinds of things that they would never do otherwise. So, don't let your eye be single. And speaking of single, man, I need a girlfriend or a wife or so. Street girls, I really love them. Melinda Stajonic. I sure love this girl. This is one of the most beautiful girls in the world. And I have to say one of the most beautiful. I can't call her the most beautiful girl in the world, because after she moved away, and then I eventually moved away, I met another girl who's beautiful too, and she's one of the most beautiful girls in the world, and that would be Jennifer. And then after she moved away, and I eventually moved away, I met a girl named Brenda, and she's one of the most beautiful girls in the world. Now, Jennifer and Brenda, they're not necessarily very kind to me, but I love them. I've always loved them, and I'm not going to stop loving them just because they've turned into meanies. Hopefully they don't stay that way forever, because I think about them all the time, but I do love them. Sometimes I wonder how could they do some of the things they do, but I know from knowing them, that's not who they truly are, so. Or that's not. They're much better, much kinder, and have beautiful hearts when they let that be equally involved in their thought process. I don't know. Maybe that's not the way to say that. I'm trying to pick and choose my words and stuff. Choose your words. That's eating your own words, right? Chew. Eating your own words. Try to pick and choose my words, but what am I supposed to say? So I don't have the money to really do all the things for a girlfriend that I would like to do. I mean, I could, but I've been doing this all on my own. And that's actually my first goal or plan today was actually to go to work, and then I changed that. The drive to work is about an hour and a half, depending on how traffic is, but it's about an hour and a half. I don't want to call it traffic. Depending on how many people and cars are on the road, the drive to work is like is about an hour and a half or something. And it's just, it's a bunch to do, to be 3 hours a day in the car. And I know that's, somebody will say, well, that's not much to complain about. A lot of people do that, but a lot of people don't. And I've been working all my life, right? And I'm just where I just am not, it's not that I don't like the work. I really do. I like the work that I do. If I had my first choice, I'd be a landscape designer. What I didn't find out until a few years ago that is my first love work. Like, I would work like 60 hours and only get paid for 40 because I just was having fun. I didn't feel that any time while I was working there like I needed a vacation. There's times where I would like to go visit here and stuff like that. But I was having so much fun doing it took me all my life to figure out what it is that I love to do. But I also enjoy the work that I do now. And but it's just the drive every day is a bunch into a new apartment or anything, because I spend in a month almost what I could spend on gas, almost what I could spend on an apartment. Now, actually, apartments are a little bit more than that, but what I'm saying is it's a huge strain to so anyways, so if somebody say, hey, we'll give you your first month free or something, maybe, of course, it'd be great if we just said we're all going to free each other. That would be great if we all said we're going to free each other and make heaven and do, and be the human family like we're supposed to be, instead of it being the human race, it's a human family. And we're not going to make each other pay for the gift of living. We're not going to force our rules against each other. We're gonna be the human family. That'd be great. That'd be great. Everybody that I talk to says they would do it, but they don't believe anybody else would. That means governments and religions have done exactly what they plan, to get you to not have faith in each other, but to put as much of your faith in them as they can get you to give. But they don't want you to have any faith in each other. That's why the news is all bad news. It's not the good news. So, what do you want me to say? People want to wait until they're dead to experience heaven, and that makes no sense to me. Even if you didn't have any faith in me, I would think you would at least say, well, if he's not God, what's the way to say that? We don't think he's God. We think God's going to come from the clouds with cloudy judgment someday, and we don't want to make it a nice welcome home. We want to leave the earth a freaking disaster, with poverty and war and violence and financial competition and valuing a high value person based on their financial wealth or their social status in society. But we don't want to make it a good welcome home. We don't want to make heaven from earth. We just want to wait until we're dead and trust people that the good stuff happens that we can't verify, and we'll put our faith in that instead of something that we could actually do today that would make us proud and make our children born into heaven instead of a financial system and born in debt. Yeah, why? That doesn't make no sense. But I'm just saying that because I love you. I say everything, even when I'm mad. I say, the things I say because I love you. Because I'm only ever mad because you're cheating each other. And if I didn't care about you so much, you wouldn't be here, like anywhere here. I'd have ended my life a long time ago, because there is absolutely, I have zero, other than other than all my, you know, 7 or 8 billion, you know, human family. I have no other reason than that. I have no, you know, and they don't think, you know, if they're not going to think about me as family, and they're not going to think about each other as family, then I have no, absolutely zero reason to exist, except for the fact that I have something that a lot of you apparently don't have, and that's hope, right? I have hope in you, and I have faith in you. Now, people will all the time, if I say on a video that I'm God, people will, I've gotten some pretty, you know, uncaring or unloving, non-loving things said to me because of that. And you would think that members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints would be most accepting of that. You think, if you think that all the righteous people in the church are going to eventually someday go to the celestial kingdom, and then someday after that have their own planet, do you think all of them are, you know, is nobody in your church, you know, not super tall? Half the church, or 3/4, I don't know how much member of the church, but they're not all tall folks, you know. And I say that because I feel like sometimes they don't want to accept me as God because I'm not tall, I don't have long flowing hair, I don't have a big beard, you know, I don't, you know, and I don't wear dress. So I'm not going to wear dress. There are some kind of outfits that are a little like, you know, if some of those Jesus outfits they have in paintings, I would wear if they had pants. Anyways, but that's really not all that important. The reason I say that is because I've thought many times, maybe I need to get, you know, some clothes that will help people with their vision better or something. I don't know. But, well, I guess I should. That's enough. I should probably have ended this video a long time ago, but I'll edit it the best I can. And I love you. I hope you'll like the video. A bunch of likes. Like, people don't comment very much on my videos. Sometimes it depends on the video, but now the ratio of likes to dislike, I'm about 90% likes to about 10% dislikes on most of my videos. 1%ers, and the 1%ers are people that bully their way through the world. I think most people, Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, Scientology, Christians, atheists, most people are just doing their best to try and do as good as they can, and their hope and desire is to be good in the eyes of God, or good in the eyes of their friends and family, and people that they work with, and those kind of things. I think that's most people are trying to just do their best to be as good as possible. But there's good people but there's also people in those things, whether, you know, there's some atheists that are really not very good people and trying to really undermine the goodness of, you know, humankind or the human family. But there's people in religions that do the same thing. Sometimes they'll do it just out of just being nasty, but sometimes they'll do it and try and rationalize it to themselves that, oh well, we're better for them than a lot of other things, so it's okay if we deceive them because we're better than a lot of the other alternatives. Instead of doing that, why just not think about the world in a loving way? Think about the human family in a loving way. What do you know about politicians? What do you know about what people will do for money? They'll lie. They'll lie on. I'm just saying I love you, and really, sometimes I don't like saying it, and I don't like saying it, but I'm getting tired. I've been doing it, so like 12, 13, 14 years, 15 years now, something. I've been trying to get the message out to people that they've been deceived, that they've been misled, and that people have been trying to practice alchemy by turning lead into gold. They led you, into a financial system. They made a lot of gold. They led you in religion, and that was about gold. And they have, they're feeding people lies. People have been fed lies, and from all kinds of plates. Whether they got church offering plates, and the fed plates, and the gold plates, and all that stuff. If they're offering plates to you, they're lying to you. Of course, I need a little more comfort, but I'm less worried about that. I'm just as worried about that. I'm just as worried about myself as I am everybody else. Love you. Like the video, share the video, and if there's somebody out there that might like work together with me, because I'm, so the video that I put up about Relief Society, that was take me 2 days to edit. There's a lot of work that goes into these things, and that's just 2 days just spent on editing, and 10 or 12 hours each day, put it like that. And the algorithm hasn't really done as much of a good job promoting the videos as I would like. Sometimes I've got I had one video that got almost 1,000 views or something, 600 or 700. Almost 1,000. I say 600 or 700. There's a bunch of views in 2 days. Now, for me, that's a bunch. I know it's not a bunch for Mr. Beast, but in a world where Satan's system is in place, you can imagine somebody called Mr. Beast would be right up there at the top. Of course, it's all about that Cyclops, one-eyed god of Mammon. And is there any relationship from the god of Mammon to the beast? But anyways, I could use somebody to work with me on getting videos made, and it would be there's a lot of work to make heaven, but how much fun would that be, man? How much fun would it be to wake up, make heaven every day, and know that that's actually what you're doing, is actually making heaven. If you want to be a God, help me make heaven, right? So, but and in a financial system, until everybody decides they want to do this, I don't even I don't have to have any money. If you can put a group of people together that I can stay at their places in each of this areas where I'm going to go talk or something, that's good with me. I don't need to have a bunch of extra. I would like to have my own place and stuff like that. I really would like to have my own place. I like to have own land. I like to have a place to plant flowers and mow the grass and do all that kind of. I really like to be able to do. I would really like to be able to do that. I really like to someday a campground or an RV resort or something like that where people can come in. The reason I say that is because people will be coming and going all the time, and I would be able to share, a little vision of heaven with a bunch of folks that way. So, and I like doing that a bunch, and people had a lot of fun, and I got, people wrote these neat little letters saying, oh, he was so nice and kind and stuff like that, and sure, I appreciate that stuff too. I don't want people to have to worship me, but I do like praise. Everybody does. So, y'all, I keep talking, and I could talk and talk and talk and talk. So, I'm gonna end this video for the moment, and we'll make another one another day or something. Love you.